Derek was the first to notice the cop car wasn't moving, not trailing them, not circling them, just waiting, like it already knew they'd pass this intersection. He said nothing at first, kept both hands on the steering wheel of their rented Suburban, pretended not to see the cruiser in the rear view. His wife, Shauna, was half-turned in her seat, helping their youngest with a juice box. Their 2 teenage sons were laughing about something dumb on TikTok. It was supposed to be a quick Labor Day weekend trip to the Oregon coast. Peace, water, distance, but some part of Derek's ancient, exhausted part that lived under his ribs had already gone cold. You watching this? I need you to look closer, not because I'm telling you to, but because you felt it the second the lights went on, that flicker in your chest. That moment when the laughter in the back seat died, not because the kids saw anything, but because something shifted in the air, like the future knew what was coming, and it couldn't keep pretending anymore. You didn't click on this video by accident. Something in your bones already remembers how this ends. But I'll tell it anyway. Maybe you'll catch what the rest of us missed. The stop was silent, at first eerily so. 2 officers approached, hands at their belts but not on weapons. They said it was a routine traffic violation. Something about improper lane change. Shauna reached into the glove box. Derek gave the officer his license. They waited. Then the second cop walked up on the passenger side, glanced into the back seat and said, too quietly, "Is that your real name?" Derek blinked. "Excuse me." The cop held the ID in his hand like it had started burning. "This can't be real," he whispered to the first officer, and that's when it stopped being a traffic stop. The rest happened fast. Guns drawn, passports confiscated, phones taken. Shauna screamed, the boys shoved to the ground. Backup arrived like they were expecting a war, a whole family in swimsuits, handcuffed on the shoulder of Highway 101 like fugitives. But that's not the strange part. Not even close. Because the moment the supervising officer arrived, the one who'd been flown in from out of state, who never said his name, the entire tone shifted. He didn't look angry. He looked afraid. He walked up to Derek slowly, studied his face like it was a photograph that shouldn't exist. Then he held up the license and said one sentence. "Where did you get this ID?" Derek was silent. The officer turned it around to show his team. The name wasn't just different. It belonged to a man who died in 1982. Officially, publicly, and in the exact same town they were driving to. That's when Shauna said something that made one of the younger officers turn pale. He gets these dreams before we travel, like the place is already waiting for him. And right then, their youngest, the toddler in the back seat, looked straight at the cop holding the ID and whispered, "That's not my daddy's name, but that's who he was when the water took him." No one taught her that sentence, and no one has been able to find the original footage since, but I have it, and before they make me take it down, look again. Watch Derek's face when the name is said. Not confusion, not fear. Recognition. Like he finally remembered who he used to be. And that's when the screen flickers just for a second. Dan, the little girl's voice comes through your speaker again. But this time, she says your name. The screen didn't just flicker, it lurched. The video froze for a millisecond, audio dragging like a slowed down scream. Then resumed, except now, the toddler's voice was gone. No whisper, no name. Just whined against the highway mic. The kind of nothing sound that feels like it's hiding something inside it. People say it was edited. Others swear they heard it too. That bone-deep hush, her breath curling around the syllables of a name only they recognize. But when the file was downloaded, saved, and played again, she never speaks. Not a single word. And here's where things start to go wrong. Derek never remembers stopping the car. In interviews he later gives shaky ones, mostly off camera. Voice distorted by request, he insists they never left the freeway. "We kept driving," he says. "I didn't pull over. No cops, no lights." But Shauna remembers being pulled to the asphalt. The kids remember the cuffs, the cold press of gravel, and yet no ticket, no arrest record, no dash cam footage, no police log of the stop. Nothing. Except the license. That's the only thing Derek did keep. And when he pulls it out weeks later, in a quiet motel just outside Eureka, California, it still says the name he remembers. Derek Anthony Miller. But the photo isn't right. He's smiling in it. Derek never smiles in ID photos. He stares at it longer than he should. Something about the background grayish, sterile starts to feel off. To clean, no shadows, no texture. Almost like it wasn't a room at all. Almost like he wasn't in anything. That night, the baby wakes up screaming. She claws at her neck like she's choking, eyes wide with a kind of terror no toddler should have a name for. Derek rushes to her, heart thudding, but she stops as soon as he lifts her. Stops like nothing happened, just stares at him, that weird toddler stillness, and mutters, "They told me not to wake you." He asks who. She says, "You, Daddy," and falls back asleep. By morning, Derek has a voicemail from a number that doesn't exist anymore. It's timestamped 3:11 a.m., same time the baby woke. The voice on the message is low, hoarse, breaking like it's being pulled through metal. "Derek, please, Don't drive west. Don't go where you used to live. That part of you's not done yet. Click. No number. No trace. And when he plays the message for Shauna, the audio is just static. But Derek hears it again. Every time, same words. Same voice. He doesn't tell her the part that terrifies him most. That voice wasn't a stranger's, it was his own. This is where the story starts to split. You remember how it felt when the video glitched, like your stomach moved a half second before your body. That unease isn't going away. You'll try to play the footage again. Try to scrub back to the toddler's voice, and your player will crash. Happens every time. But the audio through real audio, you might catch it late at night, when the house is quiet, and your phone starts recording on its own. Check your files. Go ahead. I'll wait. 2 weeks later, Derek's at a gas station, off an empty coastal road, when he meets the second man. Long gray coat, eyes too wide, too alert, not dangerous, just wrong, like he knows things a person shouldn't. He doesn't introduce himself, just nods at the pump, and says, "That fuel won't get you where you think you're going." Derek laughs, uneasy. "We're just heading back to the city." The man tilts his head. "City doesn't matter. It's the direction." Then he leans in, way too close, and whispers something low and fast. "You've got her blood on your hands already, but she's still breathing. That's the problem." Derek steps back. "Who the hell are you?" The man doesn't answer. He just walks to a nearby truck, mud covered, engine still running, but the moment Derek blinks, the truck's gone. He checks the camera feed from the station. No man, no truck. Just Derek, talking to air. Back at the motel, Shauna finds something on her phone, a video she never recorded. It's of her, asleep in bed. The camera slowly zooms in, then pans to the baby's crib, then back to the bed, except in the frame there's no one beside her, but Derek swears he never left. The file is timestamped for 4:44 a.m. Shauna doesn't say anything at first, doesn't even wake him. She just watches the footage 3-4 times, eyes wet, until the phone dies in her hand. When she tells him the next morning, Derek laughs it off, calls it a bug, a glitch. But that night, he sleeps with the lights on. And in the early dark, when the fridge clicks on and something metallic taps once against the window, he whispers the words from the voicemail under his breath, like a prayer he never meant to believe. "Here's where you come in again. Someone, maybe you uploaded the video to a private server. Tried scrubbing the metadata, renaming the files, but the video still resets to its original name, origin-redwood-exit14.u. Google it. Find nothing, until a post appears on a dead message board. Has anyone else had their ID change after driving that way? Mine says, I was born in 1948. I'm 27, no replies. But if you scroll long enough, you'll find Derek's name, posted under a thread called Real Unsolved Mystery, the man who returned with the wrong past. Only it's not his account, it's yours. Weeks blur. Derek starts forgetting hours at a time. Gaps he can't explain. Black coffee made but never drunk. Emails typed but not sent. And when he finally logs into his phone's call history, he finds dozens of calls to a number with too many digits. He listens to one static, then Shauna's voice, but she's crying. He's not Derek anymore. In the background, the baby crying, but older. Her voice deeper, almost like it's been months. He drops the phone. That night, Shauna wakes up to him standing in the corner of the motel room, staring at the wall, not blinking. She calls his name, nothing. When she touches his shoulder, he turns and smiles too wide, and whispers a name. Not hers, not the baby's. A name she hasn't heard since. Her brother drowned when she was 6. The name no one else knew. One morning, the baby's gone. No sound. No broken lock. Just gone. The police come. Or maybe they single quotes. Derek keeps saying they never had a baby. Shauna screams. Shows him the photos, the clothes, the toys, but all he sees is a motel room filled with junk. No crib, no bottles. Just echoes. He plays the voicemail again. It's different now, his voice says. We told you not to remember. Now she's part of it. This isn't a story anymore. It's a recursion, a loop. And if you're still watching, still reading, check your ID. Not now, tonight, when the lights flicker once, when your phone vibrates but there's no notification. Check the photo. You're smiling, aren't you? You never smile in those. And the background, it's gray. Too gray. Like there's nothing behind you. Like you were never really there. You wanted to know the truth. Behind what no one tells you, well, this is it. But you can't go back now, because the baby's voice is about to come through your speaker again. And this time, she's not whispering your name. She's telling someone else where to find you. And they've been listening the whole time. Derek sat across from the woman with trembling hands and a head full of someone else's memories. The baby was gone. Shauna had stopped speaking. Not out of grief, but something colder, more guttural. Like her throat had been taught silence. The motel smelled like wet paint and static. For 3 days, he hadn't slept. For 3 days, the corners of the room seemed to lean in slightly when he wasn't looking. And for 3 days, the only sound he kept hearing, no matter where he walked, no matter how loud he played the news, was a dial tone. Long, flat, familiar in a way that made his teeth ache. The woman said her name was June Keller, a therapist, who'd seen a news fragment on a local broadcast. She claimed she'd worked with cases like his before. She didn't explain. Her voice was calm, rehearsed in that soft, American Midwest way, like someone explaining a house fire that couldn't be helped. Her hair was grayer than it should have been. She never blinked when he did. She said there was a condition, a rare kind of memory seizure triggered by trauma, compounded by exposure to unfamiliar terrain and subconscious guilt. She said the events he'd described, the disappearing ID, the video files, the child who remembered things no one told her could be artifacts. Echoes of unresolved emotion pressing against the fragile glass of conscious thought. She said, "This isn't supernatural. You're not crazy. You're recovering." And Derek believed her. He wanted to. She handed him a folder. Inside were newspaper clippings, case studies, blurry black and white photos of patients sitting in the exact same posture he was in, now hands folded, eyes locked, jaw clenched like it might shatter. One headline from 1989 screamed, "Man in Oregon claims child vanished from backseat, but neighbors say he never had one." The photo of the man looked like him, not precisely, but enough to make his chest hollow. Same eyes, same shape of the face. Different name, Benjamin Hale. The article described details identical to his own. Road trip, strange traffic stop, missing time, a child erased. Only in that story, Benjamin didn't vanish. He checked into a psych facility 6 months later, with a newborn in his arms, no mother, no explanation. Baby born weeks after the supposed disappearance. Except Derek knew that baby wasn't new. She'd had teeth. She'd learned his voice. June circled something on the back of the article in red ink. It wasn't part of the newspaper. It looked like a handwritten note, faint, like it had been copied from somewhere else. Recovery requires surrender. The mind protects itself. The lie is safer. Derek stared at the phrase until the words melted. Surrender, lie, protect, safer. It made sense. It should have made sense. And so, for 48 hours, Derek accepted the lie. He sat in sessions, took the pills, rewatched the videos, and allowed the blanks in his memory to be reframed as trauma fog. He watched Shauna slowly begin to speak, again not in full sentences, but in gestures, in nods, in soft humming that reminded him of lullabies they never played. He stopped asking about the baby, told himself the crib was never there, told himself the audio was static. He clung to the folder like a scripture. June said they could move forward if he stopped looking backward, and so, he stopped. But the lie didn't hold. It broke in the most casual way imaginable through a detail so small, so trivial, he nearly didn't notice. The video, the original one. The traffic stop. The moment the baby whispered the name. He hadn't tried watching it again since the sessions started. But late one night, when Shauna was asleep, he opened it on his phone, out of some habitual flick like the muscle memory of an addict. Pressed play. It was different. The voice was there but not the toddler's. Now, it was his voice. From the end of the second chapter, whispering, "We told you not to remember." Not the baby, not the whisper in the car, but the new footage had replaced the old, and that wasn't supposed to be possible. And in the top right corner, barely visible unless you paused on the exact frame, was a reflection in the car window. A woman, pale long hair, watching the family from the side of the road. She wasn't there before. He was certain. Derek went to June the next morning, folder in hand, trembling. But she wasn't there. The office was emptied. Dust everywhere. Phone lines dead. Receptionist said there had never been a therapist there by that name. Not in the system, not in the county. The folder, blank now. Newspaper clippings replaced by empty pages. Black ink smudges where the photos had once been. That same night, Shauna woke up screaming. Not crying, screaming like something had just left her body. She clawed at the sheets, sobbing Derek's name, but when he touched her, she recoiled like his skin was acid. "You lied to me," she said. He asked what she meant. "You told me we never went back to that house. You swore." "What house?" Derek whispered, the words dry in his mouth. She looked at him like she'd seen a ghost. "The one on Klamath, where the water came in. Where I found you with her in the dark." But Derek had never lived on a street called Klamath. Not in this life, unless he tore through their things. Found the old GPS from their drive. Searched the address. 1123 Klamath Drive. It existed. A boarded-up house just 2 miles from the coast. Wrapped in chain link marked as condemned since 2004. He drove there alone. The moment he turned onto the road, something shifted in his chest, like a long-held breath exhaled for him. The trees leaned differently. The sky dimmed. The house recognized him. Inside, he found water damage crawling up the walls like veins. Furniture, long gone. But the moment he stepped into the living room, the scent stopped him cold. Baby powder. There, in the center of the room, was a wooden crib, old, warped, but untouched by mold, and inside it, not a baby, a VHS tape he brought it back to the motel, found a pawn shop with a working player. Shauna sat beside him, shaking, whispering prayers under her breath. The tape began with static. Then home video footage. of them but not the current them. Younger, different hairstyles. Clothes from the early 2000s. Holding a baby girl. Smiling, singing, like they'd done this all before. Shauna gasped, "That's her. That's our daughter. But we never," she trailed off, because the baby looked at the camera, pointed straight through the lens, and said, "They never let you keep what you love, not twice." And behind her, a shadow moved on. It wasn't a person, it wasn't a trick of the light, it was a shape that didn't belong to this world, standing in the frame like it owned it, watching, recording, and in the final frame before the tape ended, Derek saw himself in the mirror behind the camera, older, worn, eyes wide in horror. Not the man holding the baby, but the one who'd come back to remember. And he was wearing the same clothes he had on now. You're going to want to rewatch everything. I know, but here's what they didn't tell you. What they never say in the stories about memory loss, trauma loops, time slips, or vanishing children. Sometimes the glitch isn't in your mind. Sometimes the glitch is you, and someone or something has been watching through your eyes, feeding on the forgetting and the tape. You've already seen it. This isn't the third chapter. It's the reset. Now, check the reflection in your screen. There should only be one of you, but there's not, is there? There's two, and the one behind you knows what really happened at Klamath Drive. It began with a symbol, not a dramatic one. Not some ancient rune carved into stone or flashing in the sky. It was simple, almost forgettable. A black triangle, upside down, with a horizontal white line through the middle. Derek first saw it, burned into the corner of a paper napkin in a diner just outside Crescent City. He wouldn't have noticed, except the waitress, who served him, paused when she saw it, blinked too many times, and said, "You're late." He didn't respond. How could he? She left the table without another word. Minutes later, she quit her shift, mid-order, walked out into the fog, and was never seen again. The symbol began to follow him, scratched into restroom stalls, faintly stitched into the inside collar of a second-hand shirt, etched into the condensation on his motel window when he woke up sweating in the middle of the night, convinced someone had just whispered his name from the sink drain. By then, Derek wasn't asking if he was losing his mind. That part was gone. That part had been burned out of him ever since the baby disappeared and reappeared again, and not quite as herself. No. By then, Derek was asking something worse. Who else knew? The question unraveled everything. One night, the TV clicked on without sound. A still image from a local news broadcast. Headline blurred, anchors motionless. But in the bottom ticker, something crawled across the screen, fast, like a subliminal message trying not to be caught. He paused it, rewound it, slowed it down, and in those fragmented frames, there it was. You were right all along. They're using your memories to seal the gate. A phrase he hadn't heard in years. A sentence he last read in a notebook he buried in high school after his father was found in a barn 12 miles from town, eyes wide open, muttering names of people who hadn't been born yet. That notebook had been burned. He remembered the smell of it. Charcoal and sweat. And yet, he found it in the glove box the next morning. Same handwriting, same ink, different pen. He opened it. Pages now filled with notes he didn't write. Sentences half scrawled in blood-red ink. The memory isn't lost. It's just not yours anymore. Don't trust the dream with the train station you never left. The observer is always recording. Do not look at the third camera. He flipped the last page. A Polaroid was taped inside. It was him, and dozens of others, all standing in front of the house on Klamath Drive. Some with heads turned, some with eyes scratched out, one holding the baby, none of whom he recognized, and yet he did. They weren't from the past, they were from the videos. From your videos, from footage you remember seeing, but can't find anymore. There are others. They've been watching, not through cameras, not through microphones, through you, your screen, your attention. That ache in your head after watching the footage again and again. It's not fatigue, it's entry. You've been part of this from the first click. When Derek passed the woman in the diner, when the baby said your name, when Shauna whispered the wrong address in her sleep, they weren't glitches, they weren't plot twists, they were calsigns, and others have seen them too. On a cracked Reddit thread buried under years of conspiracy talk and digital dust, a user named NeonDraft71 posted 4 lines of code and a sentence. If symbol equals equals and in sound equals equals reversed underscore child open underscore gate. Found footage from 20 years ago. Same baby, same name, same eyes. No parents. 3 comments. All deleted. Except one. Still visible if you highlight the background. We hear you. The triangle burns when they're near. That same night, Derek dreams of a field of satellite dishes, all pointing downward into the earth, covered in moss. The sky above them is moving too fast, and from each dish, a wire snakes into a different version of his own body, some younger, some missing faces, one with no mouth at all. When he wakes up, there's a smear on the motel wall. 3 lines up, triangle, and a single word underneath, convergence. The word echoes in his head all day, like a low drone under his thoughts. He turns on the radio. White noise, He checks his phone. No bars. He looks in the mirror, and his reflection is still just a beat too long after he moves. The observer comes next. Not in the form of a person, but as a presence between words, as a voice caught in background. Noise that never fully speaks, but is always just on the edge of forming a sentence. You've heard it too. You're not crazy. They told you it was audio bleed, compression artifacts, corrupted MP4s. But listen closer. In the moment after Derek screams, in the cut between scenes, in the static between chapters, the originals are still asleep, but they're beginning to dream about each other. And what does that even mean? Derek thought it was about timelines, but it's about ownership. Your memories were the map. Your attention was the doorway. And someone's been redrawing the past with footage from those who still remembers long enough to record over the original. He meets a man in the woods wearing 3 watches on each wrist. The man only speaks in the present tense, as though nothing has passed, only continued. He gives Derek a folded paper and says, "Everyone you see now used to be someone else." The trick is remembering who they borrowed the face from. The paper contains just 3 things. A still from the traffic stop video at this time. The cop's badge reads, Department of Recording. Site 4. A name, Agent Calhoun. A phrase, handwritten. You saw the baby vanish, but you forgot who made the footage. And suddenly, Derek is shaking, because in the mirror of his motel bathroom, etched in fog after the shower, is a name he hasn't heard in 20 years. Noah Calhoun. His high school best friend. Reported missing. After a camping trip, gone without a trace. But Noah was obsessed with cameras. Home video, recording everything. Derek finds the tapes in a storage unit rented in his name, 400 miles away in Nevada, dozens of them, labeled not in years, but in feelings. The first time you lied about remembering when she almost came back. The night you saw it but said nothing, and one that breaks everything. A tape labeled, Proof You're Not Him. He plays it and watches a child, not the baby, but himself, younger, speaking to the camera.com/clear. If you're watching this, it means you believed it again, that you were Derek, that this was yours, but it's not. We all carry the loop. We just wear different names when it's our turn to record. And behind the child, the symbol, painted on the wall, but not flat, glowing, burning, moving, like it's trying to crawl out. You're not watching a story anymore. You're participating in evidence removal. They learned that the most effective way to erase a memory is to distribute it. Let the public interpret it as fiction. Let you carry the guilt of forgetting. This isn't fiction. This is recollection in disguise. You're Derek. You're Shauna. You're the cop who hesitated at the badge. You're the baby's voice coming through the speaker. The observer isn't watching you anymore, because now you're watching for them. Somewhere on your device, a new folder will appear. It will be empty, but when you close your eyes, you'll hear something click open. And the next time you dream, it won't be yours, it'll be footage, and you'll be holding the camera. They told you were crazy. They told you the footage was fake. They told you there was no baby, but you were right all along. You just forgot which side you were recording from.